talk. The next speaker we have is doing something also very exciting, but in a very different context. So we've just heard about a very innovative special zone that's being built on land. And now I want to turn to a different arena, which is the developments that are taking place on sea. And for that, I'm going to welcome to the stage the president of the Seasteading Institute, Joe Quirk. Welcome, Joe.
All right. Okay. This is how we achieve liberty in our lifetime immediately. The Seasteading Institute has commissioned the company Ocean Builders to build this seastead showcase in Panama waves for the bargain price of $500,000 US. We've raised 2/3 of the money so far from 8 great liberty luminaries who want to make history, some of whom are in this room. That block at the bottom will hold 2/3 of the weight. So the Seastead Showcase, it floats like an empty wine bottle with the bottom part filled with sand. Think of it as a buoy. So this nonprofit Seasteading Institute will own the first seastead, and this will serve as a demonstration project. We're going to prove to the world that seasteads can be as stable as a pillar in high waves. So the blue around the edge is the curved solar panels. So you have plenty of space on the top to land your autonomous drones made in-house. You plug into your phone where you want your product to go, and that's where your product will land. You come up a spiral staircase, pick up your wine and cheese delivery. Stable in waves up to 5 meters, which is higher than the historical maximum in Panama. A spiral staircase will take you to an underwater room 10 meters deep. Calcium carbonate will encase your seastead in a solid seashell, and it should last a century at sea. Ocean Builders has already demonstrated that a habitat will grow quickly. Ocean Builders will get things started with 3D printed coral. Every seastead increases the amount of life on the ocean. More coral, more mussels, more sea crops, more fish, more oysters, more food. You want politicians to protect your seastead? Stop saying sustainable, start saying eco-restorative. Environmentalists in California demand that the government protect decommissioned oil rigs to preserve the life that's growing on it. And when an entire ecosystem is growing on your home, you're protected from politics as they currently exist in California. And you don't have to bring your diving gear. What you see on your coral reef dives will be visible outside your window. The EcoPod comes with its own underwater observatory, 360-degree view, aquarium view. Anchors. Up to 200 meters deep, we can secure a seasick-free lifestyle. Anchors are easily retracted. You can tow this anywhere. This will be the first commercial seastead, a lightning rod of attention. It'll start out close to land for tourists, but it can be towed to the high seas at any time and work just as well. If anybody decides they have a problem with us, we can simply move. We're not going to argue. We're going to seastead. I cannot wait to stop talking about seasteading and show everybody the damn seastead. Every tourist who visits is going to take cell phone footage of their experience, and this is how we show people that freedom works better than force. Phase 2, self-driving boats take away your rubbish and recycling. They automatically patrol the surrounding water and clean up. This technology is already in use. Ocean Builders are testing these right now. They're called Astros. Phase 3, We wanted flying cars. We're getting flying cars to seasteads. The former head of the Aviation Authority in Panama offered to help support ocean builders in getting passenger drones through the approval process. Next step after that is helicopters. That is designed to be a helipad. And now for the trillion-dollar question. How much freedom do we get? Research by none other than Tom W. Bell, the James Madison of the Blue Frontier. I assume you're all fanboys. He helped us he helped me present this to the Panama government with the CEO of Ocean Builders, who will address you tomorrow. A single-family affordable seastead will be exempt from most international conventions, even while in territorial seas. Calling all attorneys, read Tom W. Bell's paper on our website, Critique and Advise Us. There's your Bible on the shelf of your seastead. The engineer read the book twice and talked to me and said, all this is doable, you just need an engineer. Almost every technology described in the book that would work on a floating city is being applied in a floating home. So it turns out the utopian book was not utopian enough. What's actually happening 5 years after the book was published is way more optimistic than anything I predicted happening by 2050. Road to Profit. Titus Gable named it the CB&B. People already spend thousands of dollars to stay a night in underwater hotel rooms on the coast. What will they pay to stay in a floating hotel room on the first seastead with a 360-degree view above the sea and below the sea? So suppose the Seasteading Institute presides over a profit. Will entrepreneurs be inspired to build a real community around it? My wife is an entrepreneur. She always asks me the same question. How will I walk my dogs? Ocean Builders is already building floating docks, darling, and marinas. Wave breakers can double as walkways, and they're doing this right now. If you can do one floor, you can do two. To go higher and taller, go deeper and heavier. If you can run a CB&B, you can run a medical tourism center. If this is 12 miles off the coast of San Francisco, I'll take a ferry ride to get my knee operation at 1/10 the price. Imagine dozens of these all over the world accelerating medical research. If one C-pillar makes you stable, what can 4 C-pillars do? You're going to hear from Atlas Island at this conference. You're going to hear from Ocean Builders at this conference. Another company we inspired is called Arctide. They want to provide affordable single-family homes in the next couple years. If you can make 4 spars, you can make 6. You can make 8. This is a technology for startup societies.
The ArcPad is basically a stabilized construction platform. You have this foundation above the waves that you can build anything you want on top of. ArcPads can connect together so they can share water and electricity, so allow you to join together and form these floating communities very, very easily. But there's a lot of benefits to being able to join these things together because it really allows you to build it into a floating city. And I think that's one of the end goals. What you'd see above the water is just this large flat surface with a house or a restaurant being held about a dozen feet above the waves on these big spars. But below the surface, you see those spars connecting to another platform called the ballast tank. And this part is actually hollow. It's what allows the structure to float even when you're in water that's miles deep. And that's also where we would have our aquaculture, where we would have potentially shellfish or other, seaweed or kelp or other kinds of life that we can grow down there. We've been engineering this thing to handle 5-meter waves, to be stable on its own, produce its own food, produce its own electricity with solar panels, potentially be able to produce its own fresh water. And we can have a road system, we can have utilities, we could potentially share electricity, like by running cables between neighbors.
Who will build the roads? Arctide. You can run your business from the blue frontier. You can provide governance services just like a cruise ship and show your friends that freedom works better than force. You can set up your home affordably. You can have a whole structure below to grow your coral garden. Very cool. The vision of seasteading is dynamic geography, voting with your house. These are easy to tow. There's Titus Gable's market for living together. This could eventually evolve into Venice, which could inspire thousands of Venices all over 2/3 of the Earth's surface. Venice cured Europe of feudalism. Seasteads will cure the world of statism. Better examples are how this happens. There's your suburbs, 12 miles from your coastal city. A jet ski will take you to international waters in 12 minutes at 65 knots if the waves are calm. Arctide has independently done research on optimal seasteading areas, and it corresponds with research by lots of seasteading volunteers and Ocean Builders research. You can lay those three maps on top of each other. If you subtract all the places where any country can make any claim, it looks like this. Free and easy seas are larger than any continent on Earth. So, given this vast frontier for liberty, where would be the perfect place to put your seastead factory on land? Panama seems made by the hand of God for seasteading. Access to two oceans, 40 miles apart, the center of global trade in the Western Hemisphere. Linton Bay Marina is co-owned by the man who once ran the largest special economic zone in the Western Hemisphere. We're launching seasteads into two of the calmest seas in the world, and so far, the Panama government is in full support. Why are seasteaders doing this? Are seasteaders crazy? Suppose I asked you, where are you on the musical spectrum? Are you left or right? Blue or red? Whose side are you on? You'd say, Quirk, are you crazy? The variety of musical forms might as well be infinite, and it can't be shoved into simple categories that could be aligned along a two-dimensional line with left on one end and right on the other end. Yet this is how we would talk if we voted on a music czar like this guy, and government held a monopoly on music, and the music czar promised a certain category of music that would be forced on everyone. People who loved music would organize into two camps and excoriate each other on Twitter, because whoever wins the election will get their music czar deciding who provides music for everyone. The most successful musicians would not be the ones that listeners choose, but the ones who can kiss up to the music czar. Nobody on earth would be able to imagine the variety of musical forms that could exist. The variety of wines designed for the particularities of a variety of palates is not designed by some argument for how the ultimate wine should work. Wines must evolve through trial and error, developed in separate little locales in Tuscany. Just revealed my tribal bias there. Given enough variation among wines, and given enough selection among palates, and given enough time to choose the loved wines and discard the unloved wines, we end up with this wonderful enhancement of the human experience, and we can't even describe how it works. No benevolent politician, given monopoly power over grapes, could plan and design the people's wine. The wonder of wine must evolve over time. All the evolutionary process needs is a variety of creations and a variety of choices. And I don't have to have political arguments with all you New Zealand wine-drinking heathen, like my wife. The only reason we have ideologies is that we don't have choice. The potential social arrangements and rule-making technologies that could emerge in a market of living together are infinitely more complex than music and wine combined. The process that designs a hummingbird can design your governance rules for every niche of human interaction. And evolution only works if nobody controls it. Drop one seastead in the ocean. It's the first replicator in a primal soup. Copying, iterating, forming communities, we can't know what will emerge. But as long as governance customers are doing the choosing, we know, in principle, it will improve to suit the needs of those who choose. Seasteads will outcompete the rise of the surveillance state with a Cambrian explosion of governments. The only way state monopolies are going to wither away is with the radical proliferation of superior examples. The only way to save the land ape from himself is to decentralize power through technology. Persuasion ain't gonna do it. Bad governments are founded on monopoly control of land. Seasteads are a technology to decentralize the very ground beneath our feet. I'm not here to make an argument for voluntary societies. I'm here to show you a technology for voluntary societies, the technology for variation and selection among societies, the machinery of freedom to choose. Technology beats philosophy every time. Rudy beats Rothbard. Rudiger Koch doesn't persuade, he builds, and he tells us why.
The thing is, whenever humanity had the opportunity to expand, like maybe after a disaster, when there was suddenly empty space available, anytime that happens, then what we see is an increase in liberty and an increase in prosperity. So we don't actually need a disaster to create great prosperity, but in the past it was usually the case, and that is I think why it is important to open a new frontier.
The most valuable thing about the Seastead Showcase is the donor names we're going to have on it. So 8 great Liberty luminaries to be immortalized on the Seastead Showcase so far are Dr. Titus Gable, President of Tipolis and Free Private Cities. You can clap. I know you wanted to. It gets even better. Joel and Rachel Baumgar. You may know Joel is president of Prospera. You may not know he's also a former Mississippi House of Representatives. Valentina and Daniel Naj of the Ethereum Foundation. If you were from Silicon Valley, you'd be squealing like groupies. Chris Rufer, my hero, founder of Morningstar Company and the Self-Management Institute. Jim Von Air II, founder of the Texas Nanotechnology Initiative and CEO of Zyvex Labs. And Daniel Becker from Exponential Communities. These names are worth more than their donations. Imagine if you could get your name on the Statue of Liberty. Does the Statue of Liberty resonate here? You know, the Statue of Liberty, this is more profound than the Statue of Liberty. It's more meaningful because the Statue of Liberty is a symbol of liberty from one state donated to another state. This is free people creating something on their own initiative using voluntary relationships. I think this is going to go down in history. We need another 200 grand to complete the build. I'm 56 and I plan to help provide freedom in my lifetime. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the CB&B.
Thank you. That's great. Thanks.